A baby starts crying at 3 a.m., not in a movie, not in some ancient village, just inside a normal apartment behind a closed bedroom door while the rest of the city is asleep. The room is dark. The air is still, a phone glows beside the bed, and then the sound begins. Small lungs, tiny body, but somehow the entire adult world changes around it. A mother opens her eyes before she is fully awake. A father sits up before he understands why. Someone in the next apartment hears it through the wall and feels a little tension rise in their chest. Even strangers react to it. A baby cries in an airplane, and suddenly everyone becomes aware of their own body. People shift in their seats. Someone puts in headphones. Someone sighs. Someone feels irritated. Someone else feels sympathy. But almost nobody feels nothing. And that is the strange part. A human baby is one of the weakest creatures on Earth. It cannot walk. It cannot hunt. It cannot protect itself. It cannot even hold up its own head. And yet, with only sound, it can control the nervous systems of adults much larger than itself. At first, we think babies cry because they need things. Milk, sleep, a clean diaper, warmth, and sometimes that is true. But if you have ever been near a baby long enough, you know the more unsettling truth. Sometimes everything has already been done. The baby has been fed, changed, held, rocked, wrapped carefully in soft blankets. And still, the crying continues. That is when the room starts to feel different, because the sound is no longer just asking for something. It feels like it is reaching into the adult brain, pulling attention, creating urgency, demanding presence, and maybe that is exactly what it was built to do. Human babies are strange because they arrive unfinished. A horse can stand within hours. A baby deer can run from danger. Many young animals enter the world already carrying pieces of survival inside their bodies. But a human baby enters the world almost helpless, soft, fragile, dependent, still becoming. You can see it in the way adults hold newborns. One hand under the head, one hand under the body, every movement slower than usual. Even confident people become careful around a newborn. Their voices change. Their faces soften. Their hands move differently, because everyone can feel it. This creature is not ready for the world, and this is where human evolution did something unusual. Human brains became large, but human bodies still had limits. A baby with a fully developed human brain would be too difficult to give birth to safely, so humans solved the problem in a strange way. We began giving birth before the brain was finished. The baby comes out early, in a biological sense, and the rest of development continues outside the body, in arms, in rooms, in blankets, in sleepless nights, in the nervous system of another human being. So when a baby cries, it is not only saying, "I need food." Sometimes it is saying something deeper. I cannot regulate this body alone. I need another nervous system near me. I need warmth, rhythm, heartbeat, voice, skin. This is why rocking works, why humming works, why a baby can scream in a crib, then slowly soften against a chest. The adult is not just comforting the baby. The adult is temporarily becoming part of the baby's body, and that changes everything. But here is the part that makes crying more powerful than it first appears. A baby does not need language to change adult behavior. It does not need to explain. It does not need to persuade. It does not need to understand what it is doing. It simply cries, and adults move. In the middle of the night, people who can barely stand still get out of bed. They walk through dark hallways. They pick up bottles, turn on dim lights, whisper nonsense sounds, bounce gently in kitchens while the clock says 4:17 a.m. And sometimes they do this while exhausted beyond anything they imagined. This is not just parenting as an idea. This is biology taking control of the household. A tiny body creates a sound. And suddenly, adult sleep, adult plans, adult emotions, even adult relationships begin orbiting around it. That sounds extreme. But in ancient human life, it made sense. A baby that could be ignored too easily was in danger. Cold mattered, predators mattered, separation mattered. Silence could become fatal. So evolution did not make infant crying polite. It made it urgent. It made it hard to ignore. It made it emotionally sharp enough to cut through sleep, distraction, irritation, and distance. This is why the cry can feel almost physically uncomfortable. It is not designed to be pleasant. It is designed to enter the adult body before the adult has time to decide. And in that moment, the baby is not powerless, not completely. It has no strength, no language, no independence, but it has one of the oldest tools in human survival. It has the ability to make another human come closer. And over time, something even stranger started happening. Adults became emotionally shaped by the crying itself. You can see this in exhausted parents, not just physically exhausted, psychologically altered. A parent hears crying while taking a shower and suddenly rushes out with shampoo still in their hair. Someone finally puts the baby to sleep, then freezes completely while lowering them into the crib, as if placing down a bomb that could detonate at any second. Some parents even hear phantom crying. Inside white noise, inside air conditioners, inside silence. The brain keeps searching for the sound long after it stops. And this is where things become unsettling. Because human babies may be among the most emotionally powerful creatures on Earth relative to their size, not through force, through dependence. The baby cannot survive alone. So evolution created a system where adults psychologically struggle to separate from infant distress. And the system works unbelievably well. Adults reorganize entire lives around helpless infants. Sleep changes, schedules disappear, stress increases, relationships shift. Entire homes become emotionally synchronized to the mood of one tiny nervous system. And strangely, humans often interpret this as love, which it is, but it may also be something deeper. A biological survival bond so powerful that the adult brain begins treating the infant's emotional state as an extension of its own. This is why parents sometimes panic when babies become too quiet. Silence suddenly feels dangerous. A sleeping baby can create almost as much anxiety as a crying one, so adults walk softly into dark rooms, lean over cribs, wait for movement, wait for breathing. Wait for reassurance, and for a moment the roles almost reverse. The adult is the one seeking emotional regulation now. But the deeper reason humans evolved this system may have nothing to do with infancy alone. It may have helped create civilization itself. Because human childhood is absurdly long. Longer than almost any other creature. For years, human children remain dependent. They watch before they understand, imitate before they contribute, learn language slowly, absorb emotion constantly. And this creates a problem. A species cannot evolve long childhoods unless adults remain emotionally attached long enough to tolerate them. That attachment had to become incredibly powerful. So humans evolved something unusual, not just intelligence, emotional commitment. You can see traces of it everywhere. Adults instinctively lowering their voices around sleeping babies. Entire families gathering around newborns as if protecting a small fire. Strangers smiling automatically at infants they have never met. People risking exhaustion, stress, and physical decline for children who cannot give anything back yet. From a purely logical perspective, it almost makes no sense. But humans are not built primarily around logic. Humans are built around attachment. And attachment changes behavior more effectively than reason ever could. Because the human species survives through prolonged emotional investment, not short-term independence. A wolf pup becomes functional relatively quickly. A human child may require more than a decade of guidance before fully entering adult society, and that changes the structure of everything: families, homes, language, teaching, protection. Cooperation. Even moderns quietly reflect this ancient emotional system. Apartment lights glowing at 2 a.m., parents pushing strollers through crowded sidewalks, tiny shoes beside front doors. Entire adult lives reorganized around vulnerable young humans. And all of it may partially exist because helpless babies learned how to emotionally hold adults close long enough for civilization to grow around them. But maybe the strangest part is this: the system never fully leaves us. Adults like to imagine themselves as emotionally independent, rational, self-regulating, controlled. But late at night, human behavior starts looking strangely familiar again. Someone cannot sleep alone after emotional stress. Someone calls another person during a panic attack just to hear a voice. Someone cries in a parked car because their nervous system has exceeded what it can contain silently. Someone turns on the television for background comfort before sleeping. Someone reaches for another human instinctively after a nightmare. And none of this is accidental, because the human nervous system never truly becomes fully independent. Not completely. The infant system remains underneath adulthood, hidden, more sophisticated, more socially acceptable, but still there. Adults still regulate each other constantly. Through touch, through voice, through presence, through eye contact, through emotional reassurance. Loneliness hurts because humans were never designed to emotionally self-contain for long periods of time. And modern neuroscience has revealed something deeply unsettling about that. The brain often processes prolonged social isolation similarly to physical danger, not metaphorically, biologically. Meaning the need for emotional connection is not weakness, it is infrastructure. And suddenly, the crying baby from the beginning of the video feels different, less like noise. More like an ancient signal humans have been responding to for hundreds of thousands of years. And maybe that is why infant crying feels so emotionally overwhelming. Not because humans are fragile, but because humans evolved to emotionally merge with each other more deeply than most species ever needed to. A baby cries, and the adult nervous system reacts as if the danger belongs to both of them, because in evolutionary terms it did. For most of human history, survival was not individual. It was shared. A lone infant could not survive, but neither could isolated adults for very long. Humans survived in groups, sleeping near each other, eating together, watching darkness together, raising children together. And emotional sensitivity became one of the hidden technologies holding those groups together. This is why certain sounds still affect us so strongly. A scream in the night, a human sobbing behind a closed door, a child crying in panic. The body reacts before philosophy has time to form an opinion. Because deep inside the nervous system, human distress is treated as socially contagious, and babies may represent the purest version of that system. They do not hide emotion. They project it outward immediately. Hunger becomes sound, fear becomes sound, isolation becomes sound, and adults absorb it automatically, even when they desperately want sleep, even when they feel exhausted, even when frustration starts mixing with guilt. Because human parenting contains a contradiction people rarely talk about honestly. Babies are emotionally beautiful and emotionally overwhelming at the same time. A parent can love a child deeply while simultaneously feeling psychologically destroyed by sleep deprivation, can feel tenderness and helplessness. warmth and resentment, and this does not make humans broken, it makes humans human, because evolution did not optimize parenting for comfort. It optimized it for attachment strong enough to keep vulnerable offspring alive. And attachment is messy. It pulls people toward each other even when they are exhausted. So eventually, the crying stops. At least for a little while, the apartment becomes quiet again. Outside, distant traffic moves through wet streets. A refrigerator hums softly in the kitchen. The city continues without noticing any of this. And inside the room, an exhausted parent sits beside a sleeping baby in darkness, watching tiny breaths rise and fall, not speaking. Just listening to silence returns slowly to the room. And after everything we have talked about, the moment feels different now, because the crying was never just noise. It was one nervous system calling for another, one unfinished human reaching outward because it could not survive alone. And maybe adults are not as different as they pretend to be. Because humans never truly outgrow the need for emotional regulation from other people. We simply become quieter about it. Adults still seek voices in darkness. Still sleep better beside trusted bodies. Still panic when emotionally isolated for too long. Still need reassurance during fear, grief, uncertainty, heartbreak, loneliness. The infant system never disappears. It just hides beneath adulthood, and maybe that is the strange truth hidden inside something as ordinary as a crying baby. Human beings are not designed around independence as much as we like to believe. We are designed around emotional dependence, around proximity, around nervous systems stabilizing each other in uncertain environments. Which means the crying baby at 3 a.m. is not just a modern parenting problem. It is an ancient human sound. A sound that once echoed through campsites, forests, cold nights, temporary shelters, and sleeping groups long before cities existed. And somewhere deep inside the modern brain, humans are still listening for it.